What's up, everybody? This is Sarah Buddy, longtime League of Legends player, big time Hearthstone player. Super excited when Legends of Runeterra came out. I've pretty much been playing it nonstop since it came out. Got some special news today. Tuesdays is patch day for anybody that's been playing Blizzard games, Riot games. Tuesdays is usually a really big day. So today we got our weekly reset. It's got our chests. It's got all our goodies. Hopefully you grinded out for those. But we also got like what's really our first set of patch notes since the beta came out. So I figured we'd just take a look at them together. There's a really nice page up on playruneterra.com, which is where you can kind of go to get all your information about the Runeterra open beta, where you can go to download it. So as you can see by this big headline here, we got patch 0.8.3. Now, the very first thing that they kind of put out in these patch notes is kind of just an explanation on the patch number. If you were following Runeterra really closely and you care a lot about the development cycle of a beta, then you might have been confused by the numbering of the patch notes. I know me, as just mostly a player, it never really means a whole lot to us. So it might not mean a whole lot to you, but they did put some information in here about the numbering of the patch. Just to say that it's a small patch, so they decided not to move up basically a development number. We should be expecting a larger patch that is probably going to be including some balance later. It basically said that that patch is going to be the transition into 0.90, and then of course as most people know, we are in beta, which is why that first number is a 0. So once they move on to the full live client, they'll move over to that 1.0 patch. The other really big thing is I mentioned that there's going to be a second larger patch that's coming through. They basically are planning to release patches every other Tuesday, which if you were a big team fight tactics player, you're kind of familiar with that patch cycle. They've kind of adopted the same mindset. So it's going to be a small patch and then a large patch kind of alternating every 2 weeks. At least that's what we can expect for the first probably couple months or so. They do go on to say that they don't get into more about their development and release cycle because, they admit that it'll probably change at some point. And to some degree, I definitely kind of respect them just coming out and saying that. Coming from Hearthstone, Blizzard's gotten in a lot of trouble of just like promising certain things with the development cycle and then, things getting changed for one reason or another. And that kind of miscommunication to the player base can be really frustrating, really shakes up a lot of things for a lot of people. So the next thing that they got here is XP systems. So there's actually not a lot of information in this paragraph. So it really just says no changes in this patch, but the reason they bothered to type something out for it is that they said they're keeping an eye on really how fun the progression feels. You'd have to play the game to really kind of gauge an opinion on that, although there's plenty that you could go out and read on the internet or on Reddit. In my experience from playing the game, I think it would be kind of nice if they took a look at maybe adding more or spreading out how much experience you get for losing each day. Even when I feel like I'm climbing a lot, like the other day when I went from like silver 2 to gold 1 or gold 4, excuse me, I had to play a lot of games to get there. So maybe I'm just not winning enough. But I feel like even when I am winning quite a few games, it takes a little while for the win experience to run out. 30 wins is a lot of wins to get to. Whereas your loss experience caps out at 10 losses. I'm in the camp where I think maybe if we take some of that experience that's front loaded on the winning side and move that over to the losing side. Of course, players should be playing to win, but it can feel really bad when you've been playing for an hour and maybe you're on a bad streak and you've run out of loss experience and now you're really thinking, hey, I can't lose any more games or I'm wasting my time here. So definitely something for them to consider. So I'm glad they at least put something out to say, like, we're looking at it. And what's probably the biggest news, they have released under this new Boards and Guardians section, we got 3 new Guardians that are available for the getting. We have the Basilisk, the Silver Wing, and Gloomtooth, which looks to be just like that ephemeral shark card that everybody loved so much during the alpha. These Boards and Guardians can now be purchased in the store, which is great because for anybody who even attempted to try and buy a Guardian, I wasn't looking to buy one right away, but I wanted to see where it was. To be honest with you, I never found it. I just never found where to go to actually buy the little dudes and load them up. So 3 new Guardians, and the Guardians and the stages are in a convenient place, exactly where you expect them to be to buy them, which would be in the store. So that's really good news, quality of life improvement for everyone. The Guardians are awesome. I want to keep calling them Legends because that's what they called them in Teamfight Tactics. As your little avatars were called Legends, but you know, Legends is something they've worked into the vernacular of the mechanics of the game, so they obviously couldn't call them that. So that's one of my notes. This is a little bit confusing vocabulary wise, but yeah, the Guardians are stellar. The Basilisk looks really cool. I'm really interested to know if the emote for our Silverwing here actually does wear those sunglasses. If it does, that's hilarious. It might be worth the buy just on that. And then the shark is just really adorable. And ghost pets. Who doesn't like ghost? So we got another section here called miscellaneous. Just I guess where they couldn't really fit anything else. As you'll see, the next section underneath it's called bug fixes, and I guess these they just didn't really consider to be bugs, but more so like the section where they stick quality of life updates. Maybe they could have called it quality of life, would just make it a little bit more clear about what it is, but miscellaneous seems fine. So under this one, we've got 2 animation decrease times on spells. There's a lot of animations in this game. A lot of them are very ornate, lots of flashing, lots of colors. And that can take time to deliver. In my opinion, I haven't really been upset with too many of them. Maybe I'm just enjoying them more than some other folks. Some of those people that are down to business, they're looking to grind games. Every second matters when you're looking to climb a ladder as fast as possible. So if you're looking to grind out games, I can understand where long animations kind of just make you twitch. Riot saying, we hear you, we're looking to speed up some stuff, or maybe the time doesn't make sense. All of that to say, they really only added 2 of those changes in this patch. So we've got Whirling Death, which has a huge Draven mustache animation, and the throwing of the axes. They sped that one up a little bit, and then we've also got Yasuo stun recall damage, which makes sense to me as well because that's an animation that just has like multiple parts to it. It's already the stun animation or the recall animation, and then they animate Yasuo blurring and disappearing, the slice across the minion, and then Yasuo blurring and reappearing on his side of the board. There's also an extra note about first-time Runeterra downloaders. So they kind of made it like an efficiency change where you can now download Runeterra, start your tutorials, and in theory, the rest of the game will be finished downloading and installing by the time you finish the tutorials. So it's just a faster way for new players to get into the game. It's just a really nice like quality of life change, mostly for people who aren't going to be able to notice that it's even there because they don't have the prior experience to match it up to. But it's nice to know that Riot's just looking out for those new players. And then the last section of the patch notes, and probably the most substantive, is the bug fix section. So a lot of information here. First, purchasing cards with shards or wild cards now correctly updates your displayed total remaining. Can I get a hallelujah? I had quite a few people, reaching out to me. First of all, they had to figure out how to use their wild cards. On top of that, to then figure out how to use the wild cards and then have the number not adjust or change is just like incredibly confusing So we also fixed an issue where players weren't correctly receiving cards after purchasing them with wild cards. This one I don't think popped up all the time, but I did have it happen to me, where basically I tapped it 3 times to get my play set of cards, went back to put those cards into the deck, and the cards were not there. So again, it kind of goes with the first one, where my immediate thought was like, well, I sure as heck hope it didn't take my wild cards, which it didn't. So everything's cool there. Various fixes for minor social panel issues, delays, unresolvable notifications, stuff like that. So people sending you messages, you're not getting them, or just the dreaded number in the top corner that just puts itself back every time you boot up the game. Used Cask Salesman now shows in Expedition archetypes. Anivia now correctly appears in 2 Expedition archetypes rather than 3. So if you've done an expedition already, you'll notice that your first 2 picks you get to choose from champions that come with a pack, and it's in a bucket system. I hate to reference Hearthstone too much, but if you're familiar with the solo content, the bucket system, you pick from 3 cards that are themed to go together to put into your deck, and yeah, that's how you build it. So with expeditions, the first 2 start with champions and a couple cards that go with them. Looks like Anivia was being overrepresented, which I would definitely see as a problem, because Anivia can actually be really strong in Expedition. If you can build a deck that can go to the late game, that 2 damage to everything on every attack is killer. So they've also reduced volume on the box and threshes the box. So if anybody's seen the animation for this one, it looks just like it does in League, which is super satisfying. Pillars come out of the ground, the walls go up. So I've only seen the card played like 1 time. Can't really speak to this one, but apparently it was playing out too loud, probably blowing out people's eardrums. So they normalized that with the rest of the sound effects. T-Hex's leg rotation fixed in Celebration animation. I'm not too familiar with this one. I did hear that there is a bit of an issue with T-Hex where he can sometimes like cover your opponent's mana or spell mana with one of his animations or something to that effect. So I'm not sure if that's what this is talking about or if it was just breaking its leg with its animation. Either way, fixes are good. Lastly, also improve the resolution on T-Hex and Poro collection images. So if you're just a pixel file, like a lot of people out there, they updated the image so that it looks better for you. Yeah, that is our first real patch notes for the Legends of Runeterra Beta, patch 0.8.3. Super looking forward to the patch for 2 weeks from now, which, if the notes are to believe, should be 0.9.0. There should be some balance changes in that patch. Anybody who's played Runeterra has probably got some opinions on balance, where it should go. There's a lot of feedback about elusive units, a lot of feedback about the Shadow Isles. Yeah, I mean, those are like the really big ones. That's everything that I got for patch 0.8.3. So let me know if you also have a couple cards on your list that you think you'd like to see balanced in the upcoming major patch. And yeah, follow the stream, and I'll see you guys out there in Runeterra.